What's up YouTube, I'm Guy, and today on the channel I would like to talk about the Rolex Submariner. I'd like to address that debate. Which is the best version of the Rolex Submariner? Well, in my opinion, the modern 6-digit reference, the ceramic Submariner, is in fact the best version of the watch. But it is a hotly contested debate, and one that I thought I wanted to put my stamp on, and also give you guys an opportunity down in the comments to try to change my mind. Is the modern Submariner not the best version? Do you think that one of the previous versions is superior? Let me know again down in the comments. Before we get rolling with this video, quick thanks to my friends over at Bigham Jewelers. They're a local authorized Rolex dealer in the Naples, Florida area. They actually had a 5-digit 16610 Submariner in stock. I asked them if I could come down to the store and sit down with it for a little while, spend some time comparing it to my current generation Submariner, and really get to know it a little bit better. Truth be told, when I purchased my current Submariner, the 116610LN, I had the opportunity to buy either one. Both were in stock at the authorized dealer the day I went in to buy this watch. And I sat there side by side with those watches because I was still a little bit unsure at the time. Ultimately, I decided on getting the ceramic sub, and I have never looked back. But today, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to change my mind. If you are not already a member of the Horology 101 Facebook group, I encourage you to come over and join us there. It's a small but growing Facebook group in which we discuss watch-related topics. We are always looking for new members to come enjoy the discussions with us and join up. So yeah, I'll put a link to Horology 101 down in the description. Come on over. Now specifically what we're going to be doing here, what we're going to be doing a lot of compare and contrast with, is the previous generation 16610 to the current generation, the 116610. Of course, both of the models in question are the LN versions. The Submariner date with the black dial and black bezel. Probably worth noting quickly that the non-ceramic version, the last generation Submariner, was released in about 1987 and ran through 2010, at which point it was discontinued and replaced with the current ceramic Submariner. Of course, the 16610 was predated by the 168,000, the 16800, and then the 1680 before that. The 1680 came out in 1979, and all three of those models combined ran for close to 10 years. Throughout the life of the 16610, a number of minor refinements and changes were implemented in that watch without actually updating the reference number. Little things like in the 90s they went away from tritium lume and moved over to using luminova. Eventually they changed the bracelet to be a little bit better in that they went to the solid end link bracelet, though the model that I have here on video today it predates that update. In 2003 or thereabouts, they eliminated the perforations or drilled lug holes in the case, and then sometime around 2007 or 2008, they implemented that engraved rehaut feature. So over the course of its 12 or 13-year lifespan, the 16610 went through a lot of small iterations and changes. Whereas the current generation Submariner, the ceramic sub, which was obviously unveiled in 2010, really hasn't changed much at all over the course of the last 8 years. Of course, both of the watches that we're talking about here have been using the Rolex Caliber 3135 in-house movement, which was implemented at the same time as the 16610, right around 1987 or 88. That movement has also seen a few small refinements over the course of its lifespan, if you will. But by and large, when we're comparing and contrasting these two watches, for all intents and purposes, we can say that they have the same movement. There's probably 4 real main reasons why someone might choose the new Submariner over the previous pre-ceramic version of the Submariner. And those are going to boil down to the bracelet, potentially the dial and handset, of course the bezel, and obviously that case. The case being probably the biggest hot topic between the two watches. Those are the main things that people will hone in on or focus in on when they're deciding which of these two watches they prefer. First, let's talk about the bezel, because that's an easy one, I think. The bezel on the ceramic Submariner, as the phrase might suggest, is made of ceramic. In the previous version of the Submariner, of course, we had an aluminum insert as opposed to that ceramic insert. The ceramic is just a better material pretty much in all regards. It is scratch resistant, it's not going to fade over time, it's much more durable. The graduations, the markers, and the indices on that bezel are engraved and then filled with some sort of platinum coat. They're not simply painted on like the aluminum bezel. So you're never going to get the numbers on the bezel scuffed up, scraped up. Of course, there are some plus sides to the aluminum bezel. Number one, it's very inexpensive and very easy to change if you want or happen to need to. You can pop that aluminum insert out and put in a new one, different colors if you want to mix it up. You do get a little bit more options with the older Submariner in that aluminum insert bezel. But for my money, I would take the ceramic bezel all day. In most regards, I think it looks better, simply because it stays looking newer longer. There's probably one little caveat to that phrase, it looks better, and that is that the aluminum bezel is not as glossy. That new ceramic bezel on the modern Submariner has a lot of reflections. It's very glossy, it's very shiny. Some people might say that it looks like it's always wet, and I might agree with that assessment. But I think that that's a minor complaint when we're talking about all of the positives that I've already mentioned: the durability, the resistance to UV light, and the propensity of an aluminum bezel to fade over time. I think that we definitely have a much higher quality, better product in the ceramic, and I prefer the ceramic because of that. Next, of course, is the bracelet. The bracelet on the modern Submariner is significantly better, and notably, it's probably because of the clasp. Now, I had mentioned that the pre-ceramic Submariner, the 5-digit reference version, uses potentially solid end links, but maybe not. It depends on when it was made. The 16610 didn't move to a solid end link bracelet until 2001. So, like the version that we have here in video, it's not a solid end link bracelet. That's one reason why the bracelet is better. Number two, the center links on the new modern Submariners are all solid. The entire bracelet is very solid. It's very well made. It's all machined parts. We do have hollow center links on the previous generation Submariner, like the one in the video here. The glide lock clasp on the modern ceramic Submariner is borderline one of the best. The fold-over safety latch engages and disengages with a level of authority, if you will, or perhaps what you might describe as a reassuring sense of dependability that the previous model just doesn't have. The previous model, frankly, it feels cheap. As we open the clasp, of course, on the modern bracelets clasp, we have a very robust, hinged locking mechanism as opposed to a simple friction lock. And then the material of the clasp and the swing arm, very heavy duty and robust machined materials, 904L stainless steel, obviously. Overall, it's outstanding, and we haven't even touched on the glide lock adjustment system. Now, the previous version of the Submariner used what I think is an absolutely useless diver extension that you can fold out. Now, it's not useless, I suppose, if you're a diver and you need to put it over a wetsuit, but for the 99% of us that are not divers, it is a useless feature. The glide lock on the new modern Submariner is very useful, just from the standpoint of making minor adjustments throughout the course of the day, the week, the month, or the year as your wrist size adjusts and changes to temperature and climate. It is just outstanding, and there's really no comparison between the two bracelets. So that's reason number two why I can't ignore the modern Submariner as the better option. Number 3, we are talking about the dial, and to a smaller extent, the handset. The dial on the modern Submariner is what's called the maxi dial. The maxi dial actually has been used in the past. It was used in a version of the 16610, the pre-ceramic Submariner. It was used in the LV, or the Kermit model, which was, for all intents and purposes, a standard 5-digit reference Submariner, but it featured a green aluminum, a green aluminum insert in the bezel, and a maxi dial. Other than that, though, it was just like the 5-digit reference Submariner that we have here today in the video. The maxi dial was also used in some older models, and forgive me, I don't know if it was the 1680 or maybe the 5513. One or more of some very old vintage models did have a maxi dial on them, but they were just standard printed dials. They weren't applied markers. It didn't look as modern and as clean and as classy. But for the most part, this is the first time that we're seeing the maxi dial implemented for a long period of time over the entire Submariner product line, as well as the GMT Master 2s for that matter. Now, I think that the maxi dial is significantly more legible and more aesthetically balanced than the 5-digit reference pre-ceramic Submariner's dial. The markers on that dial are honestly just too small. Everything feels very spread out. It's not, though, as if it isn't legible, but I don't think that it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. You know, this is all personal taste here. And for me, for my money, the maxi dial is absolutely 100% nicer looking. To go along with that maxi dial, they also beefed up the hour and minute hand slightly. I think it's very apparent on the minute hand, maybe less so on the hour hand. If I'm looking at them side by side, I almost can't tell a difference, but readily apparent and visible on that minute hand, and I think that that's also a nice aesthetic touch that makes everything feel just a little bit more significant and a little bit more substantial. Overall, the dial and the handsets on the new version are outstanding. The last major point or difference between these watches is obviously going to be the case. We have on the modern Submariner the super case, a hotly debated and very contentious or polarizing feature of the new Submariners, and also the GMT Masters as well, which use a slightly different sized version of the super case, but it is a super case nonetheless. What do I think about the super case versus the pre-ceramic Submariners? I don't know what we would even call it. The normal case? The standard oyster case? Whatever. We'll call it the oyster case versus the super case, so that we're on the same page here. I think that they're both outstanding. I think they both look great. I probably wouldn't pick one over the other simply for that reason. Let's suppose there was an imaginary watch that existed that featured aspects of both of these watches that I truly love. If we had the modern Bracelet on a standard oyster case with a maxi dial and a ceramic insert versus that same watch with the super case, now I'd have a really tough decision because, again, I think both cases look great. But when we take all of the other pluses of the watch, I'm going to take the modern Submariner with its super case because I don't dislike it. Now, a lot of people absolutely do hate the modern super case of the 6-digit reference Submariners. It's personal taste. I can't exactly argue with them. I can't say that they're wrong. Everyone is entitled to their own taste and opinions. But for me, I do. I like them both. I certainly don't dislike the super case. If I had to pick one, if you were to nail me down and say which one is better in your opinion, it would be tough, but I think I'm going to go with the super case. I do think that it does look a little bit better. So here's my problem with the old style oyster case. It almost looks a little dainty, and the impression I get when I look at one of those watches is that the dial and the bezel area is very, very round because those lugs are very, very slender. I get this sense of the watch almost being, I don't know, bulbous. That's probably not the right word that I would want to use, but for lack of a better word, yeah. It's just a very round looking watch because of how understated the lugs are. And I feel like the new modern Submariner with its little bit chunkier, you know, heavier lugs, little more shoulder. Yeah, it's just not so round looking. Now a lot of people will say, well, it's very square looking, and that's why they don't like it. You know, I don't know. That doesn't bother me. I like it. I like them both, and it is hard to pick. But I would definitely go with the modern Submariner because I do like the super case, and all of those other features and changes really do add up to a superior watch in my opinion. So if you're just a one watch kind of guy and you have to pick between these two watches, I would recommend, and what I would and did do, is pick the modern ceramic Submariner. It is a superior product in my opinion. But what if you could afford both? That's probably the real answer here. Get one of each. If I could, I think I probably would. I could see having both of these watches in a collection and being perfectly happy with that. You could mix it up. You could put, you know, the older watch maybe on some leather, whereas the newer watch, keep it on the bracelet. You'd have so many options, and they're distinct enough that I think they would fit in a collection, having one of each. I think that would be great. So maybe that's the answer here. Not that you should pick one or the other, but you should probably get one of each. At least that's what I wish I could do. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap up this video with that and say thanks for watching. Down in the comments, try to change my mind. Convince me that I'm wrong if you'd like, or go ahead and agree with me if you think that I'm correct. Which Submariner do you prefer? Modern ceramic 6-digit Submariners, or the older pre-ceramic Submariners, specifically the 16610? But you know, if you like the 1680 or the 5313 or whatever, you know, you can chime in with that as well. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again for Bigham Jewelers in allowing me to come over to the shop and spend a great deal of time with this watch so that I could really get to know it a little bit better, really form some opinions, and let you guys know what I think. As always, down in the description of this video and every video I do, you will find a list of ways you can help support the channel. If you would like to follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, all the links are down below. Of course, you can help me out on Patreon. Going over there and signing up and supporting me would be absolutely awesome. Thanks to all the guys that have been supporting me over on Patreon. Finally, I put links to Amazon down in my description. In every video I do, those links go through my affiliate account. If you like anything that I've reviewed and you want to buy it, click that link first, and I get a small commission. Those commissions most certainly do add up. Alright guys, as always, thanks again, and bye now.